Welcome everybody, this is 1.2 fractions, and we're going to be talking about adding and subtracting them. So this is a good review for you guys. A fraction is part of a whole. The top number is called the numerator and the bottom is called the denominator. Alright, so here are three different types of fractions. We have proper fractions where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. We have an improper fraction where we have the numerator is greater than the denominator. And then we have mixed fractions, like 2 1/3. All right, so when you do your homework, I'm going to ask you to please write your answers as either proper fractions or improper fractions. And we don't want any mixed fractions. Okay, so maybe you have a problem that's at a mixed fraction. How do we write it as an improper fraction? And we'll learn how to do that in a moment, okay? So here's kind of what I said here. Make sure that you write your answers as proper or improper fractions. And then also please always simplify your fractions at the end, okay? So here are a few examples. Here's kind of like steps on how to add or subtract. So first off, what we need to do is we need to convert any mixed fractions into improper fractions. So, for example, we have 3 1/4. How do we write that as a improper fraction? Well, this is how I will teach it. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply that whole number by that denominator. Okay, so 3 times 4, and that gives you 12. Okay, so basically 3 is the same as 12/4. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add the 12 with the numerator to give us 13. So 13/4. And then we still have this 1/2. So how does that actually happen? Well, really 3 1/4. 3 is the same as 3 plus 1/4. And if we wanted to add those together, we would need to have a common denominator. But wait, Mr. Warner, the 3 isn't a fraction? That's true, but we can always write a whole number as a fraction by putting it under, I put a 1 underneath. So 3 is the same as 3/1. Then we'd need to have a common denominator. So, because here we have a 1 and here we have a 4. We can't add them yet, so to make the 1 become a 4, well, we'd need to multiply it by 4. But we need to do the same for the top, okay? Because here we are multiplying it by 4/4, and 4/4 is just 1. So we're multiplying it by 1, if that makes sense. And multiplying something by 1, like 1 times 3, well, that's just the same thing. It hasn't changed at all, okay? So we need to have a common denominator. When we multiply straight across. So that would be 12 over, it would be 4 times 1 is 4. And then we'd end up getting 13/4. So we end up getting the same sort of thing. This is just kind of like a shortcut way to do that. I don't know if it's a good idea. I think it's kind of important to know how that works. But this does make it go a little faster. So again, we just multiply the whole number by the denominator, and that gives you 12. And then we're going to add those together to give us 13/4. So keep the same denominator. All right, and then once you get to that point, I think our next step is to make a common denominator. So here we have a 2 and a 4. And we need them to be the same. So we could make this be a 4 really easy by multiplying it by 2. But again, if we're going to multiply the bottom by 2, we need to multiply the top by 2 as well. Okay? So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And then we have, plus, I need to change this to be a little thinner. Plus 13/4. Again, when we add fractions, we add the numerators and we keep the denominator, so that'd be 15/4. Okay? And this will go quicker and quicker as you remember how to do this. All right, so here's another example. Here, these are proper fractions, so we don't need to worry about switching the type of fraction, but we do need to have a common denominator. So here we have a 3 and a 4. Well, there's no way that we can make 4 become a 3, and we can't make the 3 to become a 4. So if you can't make that to work, then what we'll need to do is multiply both sides by 3/3, and for the opposite side would multiply 4/4. And we multiply across, so 4 times 2 is 8, and then 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 3 is 12. So now we have a common denominator. We'll add the numerators across. So that would give us 17/12. Okay? All right. Maybe pause and see if you can do C by yourself, and maybe even D. All right, so hopefully you gave that a try. Again, these are mixed fractions. We want to have them be improper fractions. So again, we multiply, it gives you 9, and then we will add those together. So 9 plus 2 is 11/3. And then here, 2 times 9 is 18, plus 1 is 19. So we do 19/9. All right. And now we need to have a common denominator. Well, how can we make this 3 become a 9? We'd need to multiply it by 3/3. That gives us 33/9. So multiply straight across. That's kind of thick too. And we're going to subtract 19/9. So then we just need to figure out what's 33 minus 19. And I'm pretty sure it's 14. And we've got our answer. Okay? Hopefully that went well for you. And then here's one more example. Here we're subtracting and adding. Still, we're going to need to have a common denominator. So we can't simplify this fraction. 7/12 can't be reduced. So we're going to see, can we make these be 12s? What would we need to multiply 4 to give you 12? Well, we'd need to do 3. And we need to multiply it top and bottom. And then what would we need to do to make this 3 become a 12? Well, we need to multiply it by 4/4. And then we multiply, right? So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. And then 4 times 2 is 8. And on the bottom is also 12. And then we have plus 7/12. So we have the same common denominator. Now we can just add or subtract those numerators. So 3 minus 8. 3 minus 8. Well, that would give you -5. So this is -5. And then we need to add that 7. So that would give us a +2. So 2/12. And if you want to kind of break that into pieces, you could go, well, this would be -5/12 plus 7/12. And then we could do that last step and get 2/12. Okay? So are we done? No, because we haven't reduced our fraction. So what could we divide top and bottom by? Well, we could divide top and bottom by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 12 divided by 2 is 6. So that would be where we'd be finished. That's our final answer. Okay? That can be reduced. All right, and then last one I wanted to talk about, I'm adding this one. It's not on your notes, but I've had people ask about this. So how do we do this? Well, we have a couple options. What I would suggest is I would just add those together, and that would give me 4 1/3. So that is a mixed fraction, so we'd need to take care of that. Again, we can multiply that to give us 12, and then we would add those together to give us 13. So that would be 13/3. Okay, that's one way, and that's probably the easier way. Another way is you can make this become a fraction. And then we'd need to have a common denominator. So you can multiply it by 3 over 3. That gives us 12 thirds plus a third. And that gives us 13 thirds. So either way, you end up getting the same thing. And it's really doing the exact same thing. It's just looking at it a different way. All right, so that's it. Your homework, let's look at that real quick. It looks like we have a few addition problems, a few subtraction problems. Just remember that when we subtract a negative, that will give us a positive. Okay. And a couple word problems. Just realize that either here we're adding these fractions or we're subtracting the fractions. Okay. Please make sure you reduce your fractions and make sure your answers are at fractions, okay? Except for these two where this is like a review for 15 and 16. All right, and that's it. If you have any questions, please come and get help after school or before school. I'm here to help you out. All right, we'll see you guys.